Hey guys, welcome to my channel. It's Asha Mac, and today we have a special guest. It's a very good friend of mine for over 20 years, Mrs. Tanika Williams. She is a really good friend for back in the day, as I have just stated. And during this quarantine situation that we've had going on, she has launched her very own photography business from scratch. So today she's going to tell us all about that and the steps she took, and maybe something that you can possibly do too. So say hello, Tanika.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure.
We're so glad to have you. So yeah, that's actually pretty exciting. And I know back when you first started doing all this photography stuff, I was all excited and, but you don't ever know where things are going to go,
Right.
and people talked a lot about reverting from depending on someone else to pay your bills, because clearly, as we've seen in the last year, majority of people's income has completely stopped, which
Right.
is terrifying. And thank God that didn't happen in our household, but we've seen it everywhere. And yeah, so why don't we just jump right on into it? I have my questions here on my handy dandy telephono, and we're going to just start with when you started. Exactly when did you start this photography business?
Okay, well, I started the business last year, so it would have been spring. I had the idea back in 2019, and then I decided to, kind of give it a go in 2020, and then there was COVID. So I started about March, and then it had to somewhat come to a pause for a minute, given the situation. Everybody was trying to get a feel for how things were going to go. So I guess you can say I started dabbling in it a little bit, probably like around May. And I'm still in the process of taking the steps to make it official.
Okay.
But yeah, it was about May of 2020.
Cool. And so was photography something that you had really ever gotten into before? I know from our past that I know you've been on the other side of the camera quite a bit, but had you ever really gotten into doing photography as a hobby or as a job or anything before?
Yeah, so for as long as I can remember, photography has been a part of me. It started from when I was little, from, being a baby and my mom taking me to get my pictures taken every month on the 14th, because my birthday is April 14th,
Oh,
and my dad
Lord.
was overseas in the Navy. So she would take me to get my picture taken every
Did you go
month
to
on the
JCPenney's
14th.
or Sears or Olin Mills?
There's no telling. We were in California and Illinois. I don't know where she was taking me, but but she took me every month on the 14th so that my dad could see how I was changing while he was overseas. So I blame it on her why I like the camera so much, But
Thank you, Mama.
but even growing up, it was always a camera in our house. From my dad having one, my mom had one, and then I got my first camera in 5th grade.
Okay.
So like from that point, it was history. Like I was known during school. You remember it?
I do, and you still have so many pictures. That's why you have all these pictures.
Exactly.
I'm always saying to myself, like, man, if you need to find something, Tanika's got it, because she either took it or she has the photo.
Yep.
Well, now we know why. Okay, so what were some things that when you started the business, when you started treating it as a business, I guess I should say, that you focused on that you thought were going to be really, really important, but then as you got into it, you realized that maybe you could have left those by the wayside or just wasn't as important as you thought?
Well, initially I would say I was worried about establishing my clientele, like actually having people who wanted to do business with me, who trusted me enough to let me take their pictures, and then focusing on, oh, I gotta have all this equipment, I gotta have all this stuff, and it has to be expensive because I can't have cheap stuff, so that's what I was really focused on. But then once I got started, I realized, well, at the beginning, you take one person's picture, encourage them to post it, and encourage them to tag your business, and then they'll put the word out there. And then I also did it myself as far as posting my work on social media and everything. So, focusing on that, it was like, okay, the clientele is really important because that'll come as I do my work, as I post it, as I share it, that will come. And then as far as the equipment, even as lately as yesterday, I'm a part of these photography groups on Facebook, and I made a post because I'm doing my first official wedding this year. And so I'm like, okay, what lens do I use for a wedding? What's the best lens? And everybody's like, people are chiming in, but then they're like, the lens on your camera. And I'm thinking like they're just being jerks about it. I'm like, really?
Right.
Like, you just answer the question. But realistically, it's like anybody that's good at what they do, they can make it work with anything, you know, because at the end of the day, I used to feel like I was a photographer with my little throwaway camera in high school. You know, so, you know, those are the things I focused on, and I realized I can make it do what I have. So
right. That's cool. So is that how you really started to promote yourself as a photographer, just word of mouth, or did you do any type of advertising? Like how did you get your first few clients?
My first client, when I first put the name out there, Snapt Photography, was because I made a post.
Oh, that's right. Wait a minute. Pause. Tell everybody the name of your photography company.
Snapt Photography. And
located in.
And I would like to think that I've embraced my own hashtag as SheSnapT. You know, I have to do research and make sure people weren't using that. So, and it's Snapt as an SNAPT.
And I'll put all of her social links below so you can find her in the description box.
Yay. So yeah, it started with Facebook. I didn't know what to do. So I just made a post on like one of the big yard sale pages. And I did my little disclosure, like delete if not allowed. You know, I was just trying. Right. I put it out there and I started getting some messages. You know, people were like, oh, okay. Because where I drew people's attention in was advertising to take senior pictures, because, you know, class of 2020 had it kind of rough. So I was like, oh, I can, you know, maybe advertise, because I'm sure some people didn't get to get pictures taken because of everything that was going on. So my very first, I say, client was a senior out of Bay City. And she said she had saw my ad in the big yard sale. So I was like, oh, cool.
Awesome. So it works. You got it. You know, you got to try to know. The worst thing somebody's going to tell you is no.
Exactly. So yeah, that's where my first one came from.
Cool. That's really cool. And that's good for people to know, because I think a lot of times people have skills, but they're petrified because they don't want to embarrass themselves. They don't want to step into the wrong room, you know what I mean? And just get turned away. But you got to get in there. If you get in the wrong room and there's 10 people in there, one person is going to follow you out.
Right.
So you said that you're taking the steps now to make the business official. So you don't necessarily have like a license or like anything attached to this business currently.
Correct. So I would like to think last year, as in 2020, was just kind of my dabbling in it, kind of extending my hobby, I guess, if you could say that, taking donations. You know? I like to look at it that way. But this year, I'm actually in process of getting my LLC. That's actually pending right now. I already locked in my business name, so I can say that that's mine.
Yes,
like, that, you know? So yeah, I'm in the process. Right, I got to do that next. I have to make sure I trademark that.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm taking all those steps right now to make sure I can make it official. You know, because got to put this out there. If you're gonna have a business, you got to do everything legit. You know, as far as filing taxes and all that kind of stuff. If you're gonna call it your official business, so that's why I say this year is gonna become official.
Awesome. And so, like you were saying before, when you were saying, you know, when you were talking about the wedding, you were saying, oh, I have to have the most expensive this and the most expensive that. What did you start with? I know, and I don't know what we're getting into here, but I remember back when they were doing all the Black Lives Matter rallies and stuff like that, and you were doing photography then. So you had some professional stuff, I'm assuming. What equipment did you start off with?
Well, last year I didn't dive into it last year until I got my camera. So I have a Canon camera right now, and that's what I actually use during those events, what you're talking about.
What model?
I have the Canon Rebel EOS T7.
Okay.
So that's what I have right now. And let's see, that kit probably ran me about close to $500, which, you know, some people would view that as on the lower end, but hey, that was
I feel like that's kind of right in the middle. Like, I mean, because you can get like $1,200-$1,500 cameras, but you can also get, you know, a $200 camera that does, you know.
Yeah.
I think that's good. I wouldn't be able to start with something like that. I'd be starting like I did with my channel with my cell phone. So
Well, I mean, well, technically, if you want to like take it back a few years, when I was actually making it my hobby, I started out with one of those little flat, you know, like what, a Panasonic or a Sony
oh yeah.
camera, you know. So that was my very first camera when I was like taking pictures of my daughter when she was little. I would set up my bed sheet and hang it up and and prop up stuff and take her picture.
See, you can
And
start anywhere.
exactly. And what made me realize that I probably should consider it, mind you, it took me, what, 14 years to even think about it. But I went to go print the pictures out and they were like, do you have a print release? And I'm like, a print release for what?
Wow.
And they're like, these pictures. There was like, a photographer took these pictures. I said, I took these pictures. And they were like, oh, well, they're really good.
That's a see? Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I say that a lot to people, that they have to not be afraid to show people their work or tell people about their work. And that was just by accident that you showed your work to someone, because people will confirm or deny whatever it is that you believe about yourself, you know, and it's good to know, even if it's to the negative, you want to get that feedback, you know. So thank goodness for whoever was at Office Depot or wherever you were.
Right.
Wherever you were at. So that's really cool. All right. Oh, this is something I've been wondering, because I've seen how you've grown over the last year, and I'm wondering, was this predictable to you? Like, did you expect that in a quarantine, in the COVID pandemic, that you were going to grow like you did, or was this by surprise?
It was definitely by surprise. Like even like, and I know you have brought that up to me before, and even looking back at the pictures, like the senior I just told you about that found me on Facebook, when I look at those pictures now, I'm like,
because you've really gotten so, like, every time I see some photography, I'm like, oh my gosh. And then like the next week, I'm like, oh my gosh. And then the third week, I'm like, like it just gets better every time. And I'm not joking. I mean, I could be blowing smoke up your ass, but I'm not. Like, it's really, you get better all the time.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I didn't see that coming at all, to be honest. I didn't expect to learn about some of the programs that I use and stuff. I still feel like I need to learn Photoshop, because I don't really use that too much. I use it's like a sister, or I guess you can say an app that's under the umbrella of Photoshop that's called Lightroom. That's like my business best friend, aside from Amazon. But but yeah, it's like it's just all about continuing to want to grow and finding different ways to learn more. YouTube is a good avenue. That's how I learned my camera, to be honest.
I got
there
a
was
PhD
nobody to
in
teach me
YouTube, girl. I went to YouTube University.
Right.
For everything.
Man. If it weren't for YouTube, and I don't know where I would be without it. And if it wasn't for GPSs, I would be right in the house.
Right.
So.
Yeah, but that's great. See, that's the difference when you do something that really like pumps you up. Like, you know, I don't think that if you had done something else that you're good at, I mean, like, you can sing, but I think if you went out there and was like, I'm gonna be a singer, let me be Beyonce, like, it would not have turned out like this. Like, this is something that gasses you up, and that's what's gonna keep you going. I think that's awesome. I think that's so cool. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. So you did just say, like, you go to YouTube University. so I guess we all know how you educate yourself, but you also have, like I said, you've gotten better, so it means that you've been putting in a lot of practice. Were you necessarily like donating your services a lot, or how do you practice? Like, how do you keep getting better?
I definitely donate my services. So I just consider them, I usually reach out to people and I refer to them as a promo. So I'll say, hey, do you want to do a promo for me for said topic? For example, I have 2 promos set for tomorrow. So I'm offering a few Valentine's Day packages. So I have a promo for with a little girl for that. So I can take her pictures, which will be free for them. And then her mom is just allowing me to use her as my little model, I guess you can say, so that I can promote, that particular package. Then I have someone else who's coming where I can promote my boudoir pictures that I want to start doing. So she's going to be my model for that. So it's like, at the end of the day, I had somebody, when I mentioned it on Facebook the other day, you got to love those unsolicited messages. I get somebody that messaged me and say, hey, I see you want to do that, so make sure that you do this and do that. And I'm just thinking like, okay, thanks. That's all I could say was thanks. You know, I don't know where they were, you know, what their purpose behind it was,
like if
trying
they
to
were
tell me.
sincere, were they hating?
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, at the end of the day, it's like, it takes practice. Everything takes practice. So that's what, I use promos for that. Definitely. I still do that. I probably would do it for as long as my business lasts. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Okay. So piggybacking off of this whole doing promos, are you paying yourself now, or when did you start?
Well, let's see. I guess what you could say, when I first started, I guess you can look at that as probably balancing things out, considering I had invested into my business. So all the things that I had purchased. So I guess you can say at the beginning that would just kind of give me my money back. I think I'm finally getting to a point now where I said where twice, where I have a client and then I'm actually able to pocket that money. You know what I mean? So I would say I'm finally getting to that point where I've balanced everything out and now everything is more profit. And that's what I try to, any investment that I make, I try to say, oh, well, if I invest this in it and then I offer this package, I'll just get my money back anyway. You know what I mean? So I try to make that balance. So I'm not like deeper in the hole trying to make a business become bigger than what it is.
So even if you break even, it's still an investment in your business.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. And so when was it apparent? Oh, so you guys don't know, but Tanika has opened up her own photo studio. When was it apparent that you were really going to need to open up a studio? Because like you said, you started in May. We're only in January. And you opened up your studio in November?
Yep. Yeah.
So when did you know that you were going to have to do that?
Honestly, I'd probably say within the first 30 days.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, even with that first, that senior that I had, she asked, she was like, where's your studio? And I'm like, oh, I don't have one yet, you know, but I would always follow up, but I offer amazingly beautiful photos.
There
outdoors,
you go.
So yeah, so I was like, that's all I could offer. But I had, to be honest, I've probably turned down at least 10 people back then because I didn't have a storefront or a studio, you know. So I saw that being an issue if I didn't get one, especially with the cold weather being here in Michigan. You know, it gets cold. Everybody doesn't want to do outdoor shoots. I've only had one, one family that said, hey, we want snow pictures. Everybody else is like, it's cold, I want to be inside. You know, so I know I wouldn't have done as well if I couldn't offer it. You know?
And see, and that's another thing, you guys. She didn't have a studio. And instead of saying, well, I don't have a studio, and so there's nothing I can do, or even just saying, well, I'll come to you and take pictures, she used language like destination photos, you know, like I will travel to you. Like, talk about it the way that you want people to know about it. Like, even if you're not all the way 100% like there, have the confidence that talking to people about it is going to get you there, because you need them to get on board with you, and you're your best salesperson. So do what Tanika did. So how has, now since you've opened up your studio, I know you don't really have, I mean, it hasn't even been a whole 90 days yet, but how has having the studio increased your sales and your income and your clientele? Like, how has that changed things?
I would say it changed things simply just being able to offer that indoor experience, because everybody that I've had lately within the last few months has wanted indoor pictures. So, you know, if I hadn't had it, I would have to turn them away too, just like I had to do those at least 10 people back in the summer. You know, I was really surprised that people wanted a lot of indoor pictures during the summer, but yeah, they wanted it. So, yeah.
How big is your studio space?
You know, that's something that I really have to inquire about because I don't know. I just rent a space right now that's in a building near downtown. And shoot, I don't know. I put it like this. a lot of studios, a lot of photographers have studios that where they can set up different sets so that you know, like, hey, you want this background, you can go here and then move over this way and I have my next one. I don't have enough room to do that. So that can kind of give you an idea. My primary background that I had for the holidays was an 8.5 feet by 8.5 feet. And it was stretched out. So when I had that set up, it took up one of my walls. Then another wall that I have has like 2 huge windows, and another wall has 2 windows. So I'm working with windows, and then I have one plain wall. You know, so like I said, it's a starter space. You know, but I definitely plan to move into a larger space as time passed. But this was like, it was a deal I couldn't pass up, especially to start with. So
that's so cool. It's like I know we've been friends forever, but I'm like, that's so cool that I know her. Okay. How much? Okay. So I'm going to skip over the how much are you making, just because we've kind of discussed how your cash flow has come in. That's really what I was trying to get to the meat of, like how your cash flow has changed, what you're able to do with those finances, and you know how you poured it back into your business. So we get that, but how? Because like you said before, you know, you're doing on a donation basis, or, you know, maybe you're charging this and you're charging that. How do you track those finances? Because not everything costs the same, you know, and I know especially for creative people, it's hard to like switch the brain off and go to that like type A, get everything organized. Like, do you have any special tricks that you use to track your finances, or do you just use some software?
I like to think I go off the dome. I know. And the only reason that I've been okay with that is because I felt like I hadn't made it official yet, you know, but you know, like when my LLC is established and everything, I already have someone that's close to me that will be helping me with my bookkeeping and keeping track of everything. So at the end of the year, well, I guess next year for 2021, I can file those taxes appropriately. So I will be taking those steps to do that. But as far as when it comes to budgeting for certain like sessions that I offer, I don't want to like spend hundreds of dollars for this particular set and then I get 2 people to book me. You know what I mean? So I'm always making sure I stay aware of how much I'm spending and how much I'm putting into it to make sure that it at least breaks even, or at least I have a few more dollars to put in my pocket.
Okay. And see, and that's another thing too, like she's saying, now that she's starting to want to track her finances and all that, she has an outside person that's going to do all that for her. Now, some people want to do, you know, QuickBooks, or they want to make their own Excel spreadsheet. I am guilty of wanting to create my own Excel spreadsheet and then get to the end and I'm like, this doesn't match, you know? So don't be afraid to outsource things. And even if it's not your finances, maybe it is something other, some logistical thing. Like, don't be afraid to take just a little bit of your money and put it into someone else doing that for you. Because if you screw that up, then everything falls apart, whatever it is. So don't be afraid to ask for help. So going forward, I mean, man, it's like you've been on a rocket, you know, like since May. What do you plan to do? Like, how do you plan on scaling your business from this point on?
Well, so it's funny. I had to really so I'm like, okay, she's asking me these deep questions. So to be clear, we have to really establish the difference what scaling is. And then, you know, you hear growth a lot. People want to grow their business. So when I hear growth, I think of, you know, a company that's like starts with 3 employees and now they have 33 employees. You know, that's what I look at growth as. They might be bringing money in, but at the end of the day, they're bringing more people in too. So they have to pay them, you know, which could ultimately either just leave them at a plateau or it could put them in a hole. Then when you consider scaling, you think of maybe making that same amount of money with spending less, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So for example, my goal is to make.
Say it, girl. Speak it, and
a real reach.
Speak it.
My goal for this year is to make, and this is really on the low end, but I like to make logos that probably are a little more realistic and then try to exceed them because I do that on purpose. But my goal is to make like an extra 20K this year on just photography alone. And then as far as marketing and putting things into it and buying more, I plan on that part being less than 5K.
Okay.
So you know what I'm saying? So it's like, and I think that's really possible with what I'm doing, considering,
I think it's 100% possible. I think you're selling yourself short, honestly.
Really?
Yeah.
And you know, I like I said, I have to be honest. And you know, since people will be watching this, and you know, you have a lot of people that want to start businesses and they're so hesitant, and they're unsure on how to start it. You know, when I first started, I was thinking like, oh, I'm new to this, even though I've been doing this for more than 10 years, maybe not professionally, but I've been doing this. I kind of feel like I know what I'm doing. It's like, I feel like I should start low and then grow my price well. You know, from after doing research and talking to more seasoned photographers, I found that they feel like never do that. If you have that
people
experience,
don't want cheap stuff.
Exactly. That, and you know, if you start too low and then you try to grow your prices, you might lose those clients because they're thinking like, oh, I only spent $100 last time and now you want to charge me $300. I don't want to pay that. Mind you, they'll go to somebody else and pay $400, but that's another story. But but you know, yeah, it's like, you know, just not being afraid to I've been trying to teach myself to not be afraid to pretty much charge people what I feel like I should charge, or you know, what I feel like my work is worth. You know, so I'm still learning that, I must admit.
Well, I think you are doing a fantastic job. Like,
thank you.
Crazy. I mean, it's crazy. I tell my mom all the time, I'm like, guess what you're doing? Let me send you some pictures. Do you know what you, and I think people are sick of me telling them about what somebody else is doing. They're like, well, what are you doing? Sitting here watching Tanika.
It's supposed to be that support. You know what I mean? Like, I know this is supposed to be like about photography, but when you started your books, I'm like, yes, let's order. I don't got little kids no more, but we ordering right.
Yeah, that's true.
Support. That's like the best thing on earth.
Yeah, well, I thank you so much for doing this interview. This is my first one for my channel. Yay!
Yay!
But yeah, thank you so much. I will link her website below and all of her social contacts. So if you will want to reach out to Miss Tanika Williams for some photography, if you are in the local Michigan area, somewhere up there, or if you just have some questions, slide on up in her DMs. I'm sure she'll be fine with that. And was there anything else that you wanted to add?
I'll add that if there's anybody out there who wants to get into photography, I am all here for mentoring. Like, I'm not that person who feels like, oh, you're going to be my competition, I don't want to teach you all the good stuff. No, I'm here for all of that. So if there's anybody who has questions and maybe is interested in starting a photography business, reach out.
Awesome. Well, thank y'all for watching. If you liked it, hit the thumbs up. If you didn't, hit the thumbs down. Let me know what I can do better. Subscribe, hit the bell, and until next time, be blessed.
Bye.